I hold in my hands the JP poll, immunity. And there is a lot of movement here, also immunity. And I am reminding you once again, shout it from sea to shining sea. These are not rankings. Obviously, if you've watched the show a long time, you know what I'm about to say is redundant, and it's not going to matter because the same people who push back will always push back. I don't care about rankings. I do not care. I do not care. I just care about neutral field favorability. So as I list these teams, I don't care who you have and haven't played. I don't care about head-to-head. I care about none of this. And if you argue back to me, well, why do you care about what you care about? Because I do. If you don't like it, this is not the poll for you. This is just who would be favored against who, according to this model and kind of FanDuel on a neutral field. So we got Ohio State as the #1 team in the country right now, meaning nothing more than the model would favor Ohio State versus anyone. But Josh, they haven't played anyone. Doesn't matter. Ohio State could have played middle school teams. They would be #1 right now. Texas is 2, so let me read them out. Texas is 2, Georgia is 3, Oregon is 4. Bama dropped to 5th and no further. So right now, and I'm just going to tell you, Colin, keep the 1 through 5 up, but I'm going to tell you Tennessee is 6th, even after they just lost. So Bama and Tennessee lost, and they're at 5 and 6. And honestly, I can't even remember where the AP has them. I know I will get disagreement there. I am telling you point blank, in terms of favorability, we're right about this. I mean, Vegas would not all of a sudden favor Clemson over one of these teams or favor Miami or whoever you want to put up there over one of these teams. So that's the first thing. The second thing you need to know is with Tennessee being 6, there is a 7-point gap, according to the model here, between #1 and #6. Now, I'm pretty sure if Texas or Ohio State took the field against Tennessee today, you'd be very tempted to lay the points. I understand that. That happens all the time. That's fine. I'm just telling you what the model thinks. And how about this? Keep it up one more time, Colin. So pretend that #6 is written here. So Tennessee's #6. Ohio State plays Oregon this weekend. 1 plays 4. Next weekend, Tennessee plays Bama. So 6 plays 5. Texas plays Georgia next weekend. 2 plays 3. Do you understand what God has given us here over the next 2 weeks? The entire top 6 plays each other. I dreamt of days like this. I dreamt about times like these, and we have them. Okay, now you can roll it, Colin. 6 through 10. Tennessee's #6. Miami hasn't dropped, and I got to tell you, I'm a little suspicious. The model and I have had words about Miami. I don't know about that. But Miami's at #7. Ole Miss is 8. Clemson is 9. Penn State is 10. Right now, just out of curiosity, I wanted to know, model, what would you make Miami versus Clemson on a neutral field? It said Miami -1.5. My confidence in Miami is a little shaken at the moment. I'm not so sure I wouldn't roll with Clemson there. But that's why the model and I are allowed to disagree. You know, parents can argue. Myself and the model, we can argue. Let's go to 11 through 15. Notre Dame's at 11. USC dropped 4 spots to 12. LSU is 13. They're down 5 points from where they started this year, but be careful with LSU this week. So LSU's at 13. A&M is all the way up to 14th. That is a click team. I think they're in ascension mode. They may not be done climbing. Love A&M at the moment. And Kansas State's at 15. Wonder if they've hit their ceiling. So A&M and Kansas State are right there back to back. Kansas State, the team profile is that of a team that probably cannot go much higher than 15. A&M could easily go into the top 10 because they have that kind of ceiling about them. Okay, so just for a second here, LSU's 13th, right? Ole Miss is 8th. I think LSU will beat Ole Miss this weekend. If it happens, there is a half-decent chance that we still got Ole Miss ahead of LSU next week. Think about the methodology here. If the same model that has Ole Miss squarely ahead of LSU right now projects either a narrow win or an LSU win and it happens close, the model got what it expected, which means it sees no reason to move those teams all that far. Now, if LSU wins by 30, that's a different point. So the AP would act totally differently. I'm just telling you in advance, if that game goes the way I think it may, probably not going to be a ton of movement. And so as happy as LSU folks would be with us picking them to win, then they don't jump Ole Miss, then they'd say, why do you hate LSU? I don't. You're arguing with a computer, like a literal computer here. You hear this? That's what you're arguing with. Take it up with the model, not me. I only want the credit. I don't want the blame. 16 through 20. Iowa State is at 16. Kind of the same thing with Kansas State. Is that the ceiling for that team's profile? Kentucky, 17. Same thing. Indiana, 18th. Same thing. Louisville's down 4 spots to 19. I'm a little disappointed in Louisville. I got to be real with you. They're at 19, and Utah's at 20. And then 21 through 25, I almost wish we had the drum roll effect. I'm so happy. I'm so happy I can't stop crying is a great Toby Keith song. The late Toby Keith partnered with Sting in that song. I think it's his most underrated song, which has no other relevance in the show. I just wanted to say that. Arkansas is in the JP poll. That's the real headline of this evening here. Arkansas is up 6 spots. So I guess the big news there is not that Arkansas is at 21. They were low-key almost a top 25 team last week. So maybe it wasn't that surprising that they beat Tennessee. Maybe that wasn't an awful team Tennessee lost to. Just keep it in mind. Arkansas is at 21. You notice Boise's down there at 25. So it goes Arkansas, Iowa, Oklahoma, SMU, Boise. Do you think that, let me check something right quick. I had FanDuel checking on something for me, and we don't have it from them. Are you surprised that the model, if Arkansas played Boise today, would favor Arkansas by, point or two? Are you surprised by that? Or let me rephrase. Would you be surprised if an actual sports book put that line out? Because you could just yell SEC bias at me. People do it randomly all day. But what if a actual sports book put that out? I'm going to find what Arkansas Boise would be from our friends at FanDuel. I may just float it out there for you. In other news, there's a scenario that I want you to keep in mind. Kind of the same thing formulaically as we talked about with Ole Miss and LSU. So, if the model has Ole Miss ahead of LSU, but kind of expects LSU to win because of dynamics and they win close, the model sees no reason to move either team up or down a whole lot. Well, similarly, Oklahoma's there at 23rd, right? They are a 2+ touchdown underdog to Texas. If they lose by 16, the AP would almost certainly drop them from 23 to out of the poll. We wouldn't budge them because this model has them at 23 and it projects them to lose by about 15 or 16. If they do, it got exactly the performance that it thought it should get. Therefore, Oklahoma would not drop. Now, there could be a world where a whole bunch of teams climb and by default they get knocked down and it looks like they dropped, but their rating would not have dropped. So it's exciting / nerve-wracking times around the JP poll. And I know the folks who do the JP poll. I know them. So trust me when I tell you, they're a little nervous. There you see it, top 10 right there. Penn State at 10, welcome to the party. Clemson back in the top 10, have been for a couple of weeks. I'm suspicious of Miami at 7, but I'm keeping them there. Bama, Tennessee. Bama dropped 2 spots. Tennessee didn't even drop, and so I ask if you think they should, who's supposed to be above them? Who do you think that's below them right now would be favored against them if they played in a parking lot tomorrow? The answer is none of them. Penn State wouldn't be favored over Bama or Tennessee, so they're undefeated, and the other two have a loss. It doesn't matter because that's not what this is about. But Jesse, where was Penn State in the AP? Weren't they like top 5? 4, yeah. So no, I mean we're not putting them top 4 because there are more than 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 teams that would be favored against Penn State. However, none of that matters in the real world. So I'm trying to save some people some time who are going to argue with me about that. It doesn't matter. This is not how I think the playoff committee should look at teams. This is not how I think the AP should look at teams. It's how an odds maker would look at them. And odds makers don't decide anything other than what a point spread is going to be. I just happen to have more fun viewing it through that lens because everyone else does rankings. So I'm not really all that interested in that.